Back in my younger days, I loved soccer. Soccer was actually the first sport I was introduced to. I played a lot of striker, and since we did play all day, in between games I'd play goalie. I had almost two opposite positions, and it was really fun. I always dreamed to be in the World Cup, and that didn't happen, but now I get to play another worldly deck. Yes, I set up that whole thing to be a pun to play World Chalice. This deck is awesome, and I think that what people do confuse about this deck and Goki is that, yes, Goki is the better deck when it comes to extra linking, but World Chalice has other mechanics and other mechanisms that you could run to make it a simply competitive yet viable deck as well. You're not necessarily dependent on extra linking, and you can draw a crap ton of cards in this deck. I'm TheCaliEffect, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, then go ahead and destroy that subscribe button. But if your cup runneth over, then go ahead and hit that notification bell because, well, we just too strong. Also want to give a shout out to all of my Patreons. Without you, these videos wouldn't be as great. I really appreciate you guys helping with equipment, help me getting cards, and everything in between. You guys are awesome. And while we're here, let's just start talking about our Patreon for the people that want to discuss decks, to talk about things, or even know when I'm streaming. I streamed yesterday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I hope to see you guys there. A quick shout out to somebody on there is Valkyrie. He's #1 in the Discord for chatting. Really helpful guy. And let's get into this deck profile before I start going on a ramble. Without further ado, I present to you a competitive World Chalice deck profile for this format. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so looking at the stats of World Chalice, the attack and defense is below average. The deck, on average, doesn't have great attack and defense stats, but the monsters that you do finish up with have some pretty respectable attack. I really want to focus on this deck's power, the ability to drop negations on your board, and if given the opportunity, you can make extra links as well as dropping the negation. It's just too strong. The next most important thing about this deck is that its consistency and recovery are a little bit sacrificed for this power, but still nonetheless, I think that this deck could top a regional level event, and anything in between, I think that would be this deck's ceiling. Now, granted, that is a little bit of a drop-off, but I would not be surprised to see this deck top a YCS level event. Some players still don't know how World Chalice works, and that could sneak you quite a few wins. So getting on to the monsters of the deck, we run 3 copies of World Legacy World Chalice. This card's pretty good. When the normal summoned or trio summoned card is sent from your field to the graveyard, you can special summon 2 World Legacy or World Chalice monsters from your deck to your side of the field. That is the most used effect, but the other 2 effects that people seem to neglect is that if it's in the graveyard except the turn it was sent there this turn, you can banish it to add 1 World Legacy spell or trap card 1 World Legacy card from your deck to your hand. So not only can it like recurse itself, but more importantly, you have some other good World Legacy cards that it can tutor. Another effect is that it can send itself to the graveyard to negate the summon of a monster special summon from the extra deck. That isn't used a lot, but still, it's still there. This card's really powerful, helping us set up so many combos. Now, the best card of the deck is Lee, World Chalice Fairy, and like I said in the last video, this card is fairly important. Get it? Fairly important because it's a fairy. When this card is normal summon or special summon, you get to add 1 World Chalice monster from your deck to your hand. Now, it's extremely important because more often than not, when you summon this card, you want to tutor your World Legacy World Chalice. And how do you get that additional normal summon? Well, we solved that problem pretty easily in this deck, but I just wanted to say that she's really important because it's a light fairy monster that is level 2, so it combos so well with this deck. We really want to focus on the fact that this card is a fairy monster and a level 2 monster, and that's how you bring out the most out of this World Chalice deck. 1 copy of World Chalice Guard Dragon. I am not a fan of just 1 Guard Dragon. You do sacrifice a little bit of your recovery options in this particular build because I only do run 1 Guard Dragon instead of 2, but what this card does, if it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to special summon a normal monster to your side of the field of a zone that it points to. I think that was only optimal to drop it to 1 because I am running less normal monsters, but even more importantly, Guard Dragon actually is a hand trap. Nobody notices this. It negates the activations of your targeted linked monsters, so I just don't understand why this card, I gotta try to find a way to fit more of this cards because it's still really important, and it's under the World Chalice name that you can summon with Legacy. Last is one copy of Beckon by the World Chalice. Both of these guys were dropped down. I normally play 2 normal monsters and 2 guard dragons for the recovery options, but I'm really tight on space, so I wanted to squeeze in as much power of the deck while not sacrificing the consistency and still being able to make some outrageous boards. So I had to sacrifice a little bit of recovery. Beckon of the World Chalice is really important because it is a normal World Chalice monster that you can summon off a legacy. It comes up in so many combos. Again, I would really love to run 2 normal monsters, but unfortunately we're really tight for room. If you guys ever do find a way to run 2 Beckons, siding or an extra deck boarding, or main boarding I guess, Abyss Dweller would be really powerful because it's good against Goki right now and other graveyard reliant decks. That's it for the World Chalice monsters. Again, if there was anything that I would change, I would try my best to run a second Beckon or 2 Chosen and a second Guard Dragon, but that's not in the realm of possibility because every single one of these cards in the deck is that much more important. 3 copies of Agent Creation of Venus. This card is your go-to card. You guys remember when I was talking about how Lee is fairly important? Well, if men are for Mars, women are for Venus, and there's no men in this deck. Like, there's no Mars, so Venus is that much more important. Get it? Because its name is Venus. And, okay, anyways, basically at the cost of 500 life points, if that was ever a cost, you get to spell summon up to 3 copies of Mystical Shine Ball from your hand or deck to your side of the field. Now, again, Lee is a level 2 light fairy, so you can transmodify right into the Venus and then start special summoning your Shine Balls to get off your combos. This is going to allow you to extra link if you go uninterrupted, and more often than not, just getting this card out to your side of the field to special summon multiple Shine Balls are going to allow you to make some insane link boards. So that's it for those 6 monsters. Next, we do play quite a bit of negation, taking advantage that I've already shown you 9 fairy monsters, and I'm telling you, this card heralds from a different light. Get it? 2 copies of Herald of Orange Light and 1 copy of Herald of Green Light. Now, you guys can mix up the heralds however you want to. If you see a spell heavy format or a spell heavy local level or area event, I would probably go more towards the Herald of Green Light. And if you guys see more monster heavy or hand trap heavy, I would go with 3 copies of Herald of Orange Light. However you guys want to mix that up in your main board. But the most important thing is that Herald of Orange Light not only allows us to not play Called by the Grave, or it gives us the option to not play Called by the Grave, it also is a hand trap so it can negate monsters effects, and Herald of Green Light stops every good spell card in every deck, Goki Rematch, Trickstar Light Stage, and even Sky Striker Engage. So it does stop the big 3 decks, so I decided to run 1 copy with it. What goes really well with the deck is 2 copies of Eva, not just 1, 2 copies, because again, we want to take advantage of these fairy monsters or an ineptitude not to be able to extra link, but to be able to gain so much advantage on our opponent. And when Eva is sent to the graveyard, you can banish fairy monsters from your graveyard to add level 2 or lower light fairy monsters from your deck to your hand. So basically comboing off discarding your Eva with Herald of Orange Light can net you either a Lee World Chalice Fairy back to your hand, it can add another Herald of Orange Light, it can add a Herald of Green Light. It has so many options to add other cards from your deck to your hand. It is the real reason why this deck can still be so powerful into the format. This card is extremely busted. What I like to do if my opponent hand traps me and I have these 2 cards in my hand, oh man, you guys actually just might set me up. So hypothetically, let me give you guys a situation. I activate Brilliant Fusion and my opponent Ash Blossoms and Joyous Spring, my Brilliant Fusion. I can actually pitch these 2 monsters from my deck to my graveyard to negate the Ash Blossom. And now, since Brilliant Fusion hasn't resolved yet, I don't have to send Lee World Chalice Fairy. I can send some other fairy monsters that can just be so helpful for the game and still trigger off Eva that search 2 cards instead of 1. So it's really good. I just like the card. That's it for the other fairy monsters. We do finish that off with 1 copy of Archlord Christia. This card is the reason why this deck can be so bananas. Being able to summon this card for free and then retrieve a fairy monster from your deck to your hand or your graveyard to your hand is also important. Also, the ability to summon it off of Saryuja, being able to summon it off of Aurum, being able to summon it in so many different ways is going to be a game ender. This deck, or builds or decks, are very heavily predicated on special summoning. So summoning this card and preventing special summons might just win you the game outright. Next is 1 copy of Gem Knight. Lazuli. Now, this card is better than Garnet in my opinion because not only does it get you your mystical shine balls back to your hand so you can actually combo off with your Herald of Orange Light and Herald of Green Light, it also allows you to manipulate the graveyard. So for example, there's quite a few times where you might have 5 fairies in your graveyard, add one of them back, and now you can summon the Arc Lord Christia. It just gives you so much hand advantage. Worst case scenario, it can actually add Beckoned to your hand, and when you start linking off, you can summon Beckoned again. It's just that much more important than Garnet, in my opinion. That's it for that. Now, the next is the Combo Extender. This card is so well placed inside of this deck over any other deck that can extra link, and it's just so well. If you have Venus on your side of the field in this card, you can make some really nasty boards, especially if you start having some World Chalice monsters that you can add into the fray and basically reset your entire graveyard. You can basically allows you to go through your extra deck without any caution to the wind, just summoning monsters, linking off until you get the perfect board that you want. Then you reset all over and continue to link off again. Again, I think that this is the best deck to have it in, and it combos just so well with your deck. Next, we do play 2 kaijus. We play 1 copy of Gamseal and 1 copy of Doggerin, which means we are playing the Kyoto Waterfront. And the reason why is because I want to end with some negations. Now, ending with Arc Lord Christia and a Gamseal is just, it's good. It doesn't really matter what other cards I have on the field. Being able to stop my opponent from using card effects to destroy my Christia, and then being able to prevent my opponent from special summoning, it's really good. And Doggerin is a Raigeki. You guys can actually play whatever other kaiju you want. I actually opted, or I thought about playing just 2 copies of Gamseals because they are really good. If I were to ever take out one monster in this deck, it would be the 2 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. And if you guys really wanted to, you could take them out for the Beckoned and the Guard Dragon if you really wanted to, or you can take it out with 2 Ghost Ogres, or you can take it out for Effect Veilers. It's whatever you guys choose. I don't think that this card is awful. It's a really good hand trap, and we already play hand trap, so it's like, do whatever you guys please if you can't afford the Ash Blossoms or Joyous Spring. It's pretty obvious why I play them myself. Alright, so that's it for the monsters. For the spells, 3 copies of Brilliant Fusion. Oh my gosh. So, I know Nightmare Goblin did come out. Nightmare Goblin is a very powerful card, but Nightmare Goblin doesn't do what Brilliant Fusion does. And the best thing about Brilliant Fusion is that you can send 1 light monster from your deck to your graveyard to gain an additional normal summon. Now, the fact that you get to send that light monster is the most important thing with Brilliant Fusion, because you can combo off so well. You can send, my apologies, you can send Shine Balls if you ever needed to, and as well as the Lapis Lazuli to recur the Shine Ball to your hand. Now, that's probably not the best of combos, but if you're sending cards like Eva to your graveyard, that's going to be able to search your hand traps. If you are sending cards like League World Chalice Fairy, which is something that I do really often, this card can actually just tutor itself back into its hand, and you combine that with the 3 transmodifies that we play, you can legitimately transmod your bod into whatever you want. Get it? It's just really good. The fact that it's a Foolish Burial wrapped up inside of an additional normal summon is just insane for this deck. Again, the Transmodify can turn your is a really important part because it can turn your Lee into an Agent Creation Venus. Hell, if you guys wanted to, we can turn your Eva into a Lee. It can turn your Herald into a Agent of Creation Venus. You have so many targets. I don't necessarily like running 3 copies of this card, but I really, really want to see it. It's just that powerful inside the deck. Next, we actually do run 2 copies of Kyoto Waterfront and 1 copy of Terraforming. Now, I was very skeptical of running more than 1 and 1. I was going to run 1 and 1, 1 Kyoto and 1 Terraforming. But then I started to realize, first of all, I can make Saryuja like crazy. So opening up multiple copies of this, I just put them to the bottom of my deck, and then I won't have to worry about them again. Second of all, getting that kaiju is pretty important. So I opted to run the 2 Kyoto Waterfront and the Terraforming because I want to get into that kaiju, and I want to see these cards in my opening hand. Next is 1 copy of Monster Reborn, 1 copy of World Legacy's Heart, 1 copy of World Legacy Succession, 1 Soul Charge, and 1 Foolish Burial. Now, these cards all play an important part. The reason why I want to single out these 2 cards is that both of these are searchable by World Legacy World Chalice, so it's pretty good, both being extenders, and so with Soul Charge and Monster Reborn, you basically play 4 extenders into this deck. And Foolish Burial can send whatever card you need to the graveyard to tutor off back to your hand or your field or whatever you need be. Lastly, I do run one copy of the Phantom Knights Brigadine. This is a proxy for Brigadine. It's basically a free normal monster to your side of the field. All you have to do is not control any traps, and I only play one trap, so free normal monster. I know you guys are probably thinking, why don't I play Unexpected Die? You try to play Unexpected Die with only one real target. Beckon's your only real target, so that just wasn't a smart move. That's it for the spells and traps, and I'm going to show you guys this extra deck and why I play certain cards. So starting off with the World Chalice monsters, one copy of Ningrisu. Oh man, this card's fun. Just the fact that you can summon him under 3 World Chalice monsters pointing in his direction will get you a +3, and nobody ever thinks about its other effect. You can send one card on your field to send a card on your opponent's side of the field to the graveyard, so those dead Brilliant Fusions, oh my god, you can actually get rid of your opponent's cards. It's really powerful. 2 copies of Ib, the World Chalice Priestess. I felt that she is a part of our win condition because a lot of times you can make Saryuja, Gamseal, as well as an Archlord Christia, and having these 2 cards pointing to either or, it just guarantees you that much more protection to your cards, and it's an 1800 attack. Worst case scenario, you can have them co-link to each other, and they become an unstoppable duo, not being able to be targeted or destroyed by your opponent's card effects. 2 copies of I'm Duck. This card, I would love to play a 3rd copy, but we're tight for extra deck space. Actually, I think this is only a 13 card or a 14 card extra deck, and I'm giving you guys quite a few options. But this card also allows you to additional normal summon. You cannot stack it with your Gem Knight, Seraph Knight, so that's unfortunate, but it's a really big important piece to the combo. 1 copy of Aura World Chalice Blade Master. This card is also important. It can tribute a World Chalice monster that this card points to special summon any monster from your graveyard to your side of the field. So it's a lot of cheeky combos with this card and Brilliant Fusion to get Archlord Christia to your side of the field for almost free. That's it for the World Chalice monsters. We run 2 copies of Saryuja Skull Dread. And my last profile was like, you don't necessarily need 2 copies, and I still hold true to that. I only use 2 Saryuja when I'm really trying to dig deeper into my deck, and I really need to. More often than not, making double Saryuja isn't the best plan because you've allocated so many resources to making the second one. It isn't beneficial unless you have an extender like Soul Charge, Monster Reborn, World Legacy, World Chalice, or you have your Exodius plus your my apologies, the Agent of Creation Venus. Another big reason why I actually play 2 is because this card isn't restrictive to once per turn, so you make the first one, you spell summon the Gamseal, then you make the second one, you spell summon the Archlord Christia, so that actually could come up. 1 copy of Firewall Dragon, card's most busted link in the game. You start linking off. Normally when I make Ningrisu, I link off into the Firewall because it's the only non-restrictive link 4 monster. Just requires 2 monsters and you can just go off from there. 1 copy of Borlo Bragan, the best link 4 in the game with snatching your opponent's monsters. 1 copy of Link Spider. You run 4 normal monsters, and Link Spider is pretty important for making a Saryuja combo. Actually, Venus just makes a straight up Saryuja, so it's pretty good. And then 1 copy of Proxy Dragon. You do need a generic Link 2 to start making some of your other combos. And then lastly is 1 copy of Gem Knight, Seraph Knight. What would we be without the Seraph Knight now? This is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 card extra deck. And I'm going to talk to you guys about a couple of cards that you guys could run and what would be the benefits of running them. So up to you guys. Akashic Magician is also really powerful. You can use it to bounce your kaijus and then, you know, set up with some really nasty boards with this. The Nightmare monsters are extremely powerful. Phoenix and Cerberus allow you to destroy your opponent's spells and traps, as well as special summon monsters. Unicorn allows you to put a card to your opponent's deck or on the field to the deck. Trigate Wizard is a big blocker, but let me go back and actually talk about these Nightmare monsters. And the reason why I don't like say these are shoe-ins, a lot of times when you're linking off, unlike the Goki deck or unlike you know, other extra link decks, your Nightmare monsters are almost specifically used just for their effects. And playing cards like Ibli, Nightmare Goblin, which is completely useless to the deck, doesn't help because they need to be co-linked for you to activate those effects. Now, I already told you guys, this deck isn't the greatest at extra linking. Not saying that it can't happen. It actually can do it. But the fact that we're playing this deck, if you're playing a deck 2 extra link, go play Goki. This deck is good at making boards your opponents can't break, and these cards don't contribute to those boards. Another thing that I really realized about this is that monsters need to be co-linked. You can't co-link with an Arclor Christie and a Gamseel. It just doesn't happen. But nonetheless, these cards are still really powerful. One card that I really wanted to run was Nightmare Griffin, because again, this is almost like the firewall thing I was talking about. Making this card with the Ningridisu and a Shine Ball is really powerful. But the only problem why I didn't decide to run it is because normally you have Saryuja on your, in your extra monster zone, and it's pointing right to your opponent, so it kind of makes it moot. But it's still a really powerful card. Link Kribo is good if you really want to get into that extra link, and then Tri-Gate Wizard. All these cards can be played in any way, mix or match. The cards that could be cut from the extra deck that I showed you guys is Saryuja and Ib. So you guys can mix and match however you guys want to make the perfect extra deck. If I had to choose between these cards, I'll leave it down below in the description. But that's it for the extra deck. Now let me talk to you guys about this side deck and why we play it. Okay, side deck wise, of course we play the third Herald of Orange Light, monster heavy decks or hand trap heavy decks. The second Herald of Green Light for spell decks, such as Sky Striker. 2 Herald of Purple Lights, really good against Altergeist. So basically we have a Herald just throughout every deck. Humongous, the Sticky String, and Jizukiru. More kaijus that you can abuse their effects if you're playing Kyoto. And then of course Interrupted Kaiju Slumber, because it's a free dark hole and it searches your kaijus. Not that you need it, Kyoto will probably do all that for you. Raigeki for more board whites, 3 copies of Twin Twisters for back row heavy decks, and then 3 copies of Evenly Matched. For the people that can't afford Evenly Matched, you can see we already run kaijus. Hand traps would not hurt you. Excuse me. Shared Rides or Mistaken Arrest are also pretty good. Now granted, they don't do anything near what the Evenly Matched does, but we already made the kaijus, so you can't really just say main kaijus. I'm already citing kaijus and maining kaijus. So that's pretty much it for the extra deck. I would love to get you guys some test hands of this deck, but we're a little bit pressed for time. So if you guys really want to see the test hands, let's get this video to 200 likes. Hypothetically, let's say you get to 100 likes by the end of the day, I'll have a test hand video the day after, so Saturday. Thank you guys so much for watching another segment of the Cali Effect. World Chalice wasn't the deck that I really wanted to do today. I actually wanted to do a different type of video. I left it in the community's hands and they chose World Chalice. And it's not that I don't like doing deck profiles, it's just that I feel like I can do so much more for the community by doing other type of videos. Let me know down below what you guys think of that. Obviously, it's just me being in my feelings because I didn't feel that this deck was that ready. Or not necessarily that ready. I didn't feel that the deck was better than the other videos, but you guys decided. Please like, comment, subscribe, but most of all, enjoy. I hope you guys are having a great day like I am.